If someone hugs you while twisting a knife into your back, is it still called affection? Because that's what my sister-in-law has mastered: weaponized warmth. For years I thought I was going crazy. Her smile was too wide, her compliments too sugary. She always insisted on hugging me first at every family gathering. My favorite sister, she'd chirp while squeezing the life out of me like she meant it. But later that same night, I'd find myself inexplicably frozen out of conversations. Or worse, I'd catch snippets of judgmental whispers about my kids, me sweet, kind, neurodivergent twins coming from cousins who once loved them like their own. Let me rewind and properly introduce myself. I'm Amanda, 36, married to Ryan. We have 2 children, Mia and Caleb, both 9 years old, both on the autism spectrum but brilliant, vibrant, and unique in every possible way. Ryan's family welcomed me at first, or so I thought. And then came Danielle, my sister-in-law. She's Ryan's brother's wife. Gorgeous, articulate, always dressed like she walked out of a catalog, and smelled like a gardenia had an affair with a Chanel bottle. She's also the kind of person who uses "bless your heart" the way a surgeon uses a scalpel. It started subtly. Around the time we discovered the twins' diagnoses, Danielle would ask sweetly in front of the family, "How are Mia and Caleb doing? Are they still, a handful?" Then she'd give a pitying smile and rub my arm like she just offered a prayer. Everyone would nod in sympathetic silence. But then, out of nowhere, I started hearing things from cousins, aunts, even Ryan's grandmother. "You shouldn't coddle them so much. Maybe if they weren't always on screens." Or my personal favorite, "Danielle says you let them act out in public. Is that true?" Wait, what? Danielle said that? Why? I ignored it at first. Maybe it was miscommunication. Maybe they were assuming things. Maybe Danielle didn't mean it that way. But then I saw it with my own eyes. We were at cousin Julia's baby shower. Danielle was sitting across the room with 2 other wives, whispering and giggling. I walked past to get a drink and swear to God I heard her say, "She lets them scream in Target. Like animals. She just stands there." And then laughter. I didn't say anything. Not that day. But I cried in the car the entire drive home. That night I told Ryan. I expected him to be furious. Instead he looked conflicted. "She probably didn't mean it like that," he said, rubbing his temples. "Danielle's just blunt sometimes." Blunt? She calls my kids animals and that's blunt? Here's the thing, Danielle is a master at playing both sides. She'll buy my kids thoughtful gifts for Christmas, then turn around and tell everyone that they're so spoiled it's sad. She'll repost autism awareness infographics and tag me, only to message a cousin privately that Amanda uses that label as an excuse. I tried confronting her once. This was about a year ago. I invited her to coffee neutral ground. I told her I felt like maybe some things I'd heard weren't fair, and asked if we could talk about it. She smiled sweetly, tilted her head. "Oh honey, people talk. You know how families are. But I would never say anything to hurt you. You know that, right?" Then she patted my hand like a toddler and paid for my drink. I left feeling like I'd hallucinated the whole thing. But then the final straw. Last Thanksgiving, the whole family was at Ryan's parents' house. The kids were running around the backyard. Mia was stimming, flapping her hands happily, and Caleb was lining up leaves by color. I was proud. They were outside, calm, content. Danielle sauntered over with a wine glass and whispered to me, "You should really teach them to behave like normal kids. People are starting to feel uncomfortable." I saw red. "People? Or you?" I asked louder than I intended. She blinked, caught off guard, then plastered on that smile again. "Let's not do this here. This is a family holiday." Exactly. So I went inside, grabbed Ryan, and told him we were leaving. No explanations, no goodbyes. We didn't go to Christmas that year. And I haven't let Danielle near my kids since. But now, of course, I'm the dramatic one. The cousins ask what's wrong. His mother called me cold. And just last week, Danielle posted a family photo with the caption, "Some people drift away. That's okay. The ones who matter always stay." Guess who was tagged? Not me. So now I'm sitting here writing this, asking strangers on the internet, am I the asshole for cutting off my sister-in-law after she kept secretly shaming my kids, even though she acts loving in front of the family? And you haven't even heard about Aunt Marcy yet. But I'll get to her. She's the twist no one saw coming. The week after Thanksgiving was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of quiet that grows in the absence of confrontation, heavy, loaded, waiting to be broken. Ryan and I barely spoke for days. Not because we were angry with each other, but because we were both treading the thin ice between outrage and exhaustion. Every time I looked at my kids, curled up on the couch watching the same episode of Bluey for the 5th time, I wondered how much of Danielle's venom had already seeped into the family's perception of the man of me. Then Aunt Marcy called. Let me explain who she is first. Aunt Marcy is Ryan's dad's older sister. She lives 3 states away, and she's not particularly close to the rest of the family. Most relatives dismiss her as weird or difficult. I always thought she was just quiet and observant. At weddings or reunions, she'd watch more than talk. She never played favorites. She sent birthday cards never late, never early. She once told me that she grew up allergic to fake people, and now looking back, I think that woman might be the smartest person in the entire family. So when Marcy called out of the blue that Wednesday morning, I was surprised. Even more surprised when the first thing she said was, "I've been hearing some things. About Danielle. About the kids. And I want you to know you're not crazy." I nearly dropped my coffee. She continued, "I don't talk much at those gatherings because no one really listens. But I hear everything. Everything. Danielle's been going out of her way to poison people's image of you. She always does it sweetless so they don't notice the dagger in her words. She's very good. But I'm better." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I have screenshots," she added. Pause. "What?" I whispered. Marcy went on to explain that she was part of a family Facebook group chat. I had left that chat over a year ago when it started becoming a breeding ground for passive-aggressive messages and overly curated highlight reels. Marcy, however, stayed but not to engage, to observe. She'd saved screenshots of Danielle's messages. Long messages. Mocking messages. Things like, "Amanda lets them wear pajamas to church. It's like she's given up on trying to raise civilized humans. I love them, I really do, but those kids need serious discipline. Or a leash. Don't say I said this, but I honestly think Amanda wants them to be labeled special, so she can play the martyr." I couldn't breathe. There it was, proof. Cold, undeniable, time-stamped proof that Danielle wasn't just talking behind my back, she was building an army. I sat down on the kitchen floor and cried. Ugly cried. The kind that makes you heave and hiccup and choke on snot. Ryan found me 20 minutes later. When I showed him the screenshots, he turned pale. "She said this about Mia?" he asked, pointing to one. It was a message about how some kids don't belong in mainstream schools. I nodded. "I'm calling Paul," he said flatly. Paul is Danielle's husband. Ryan's brother. The quiet type, always polite but a bit checked out, like someone who was never fully present even at his own wedding. Ryan had never seen Paul get angry, but that night he was about to. Ryan sent him a text with a few screenshots and said, "We need to talk. Now." Paul called back within 10 minutes. "Hey man," he said cautiously. "What's going on?" Ryan didn't mince words. "Your wife has been spreading lies about my kids behind Amanda's back. We have proof. We've been ignoring it for too long. It ends now." There was silence. Then Paul asked, "What proof?" Ryan sent him more screenshots. A long pause. Finally, Paul said, "That I don't even know what to say." But he didn't defend her. Not once. That was telling. That weekend, Paul showed up at our house. Alone. He looked like hell, bloodshot eyes, messy hair, wrinkled shirt. He asked if he could talk to us both. We let him in. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I really am. I had no idea it was this bad. I knew Danielle could be mean. But this? I thought she just vented sometimes. I didn't realize it was calculated." He pulled out his phone. He had messages too. Apparently, Danielle had been trying to get Paul to distance himself from us and our kids. Said we were chaotic energy, that we brought drama, that she was tired of being the only one holding the family's image together. She told me, Paul admitted, that it would be best if we just let the connection fade naturally. I didn't agree with her. I just didn't know what to do. He looked ashamed, like a man realizing he'd been complicit by silence. "I want you to know," he added. I've already confronted her. She tried to spin it, said you were overreacting, that you took her words out of context. But I told her I saw the screenshots. I told her I was done pretending this was okay. And then Paul dropped a twist I didn't see coming. I'm staying at my sister's house. I'm not sure if Danielle and I are going to make it. My jaw dropped. Ryan's eyes widened. You're separating? I asked cautiously. Paul nodded. This was just the last straw. It's not just you. It's years of manipulation, lies, control. She did it to everyone but especially to you. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I couldn't speak, but I wanted to hug him. For standing up. For seeing it. For doing something. After Paul left, Ryan sat in silence for a long time. Finally he said, I always knew she didn't like you. I just didn't know she hated you this much. I looked at him. She doesn't hate me. She hates what I represent. I'm not the wife who plays along. I'm not polished or perfect or obsessed with appearances. And she can't control that. That weekend, Aunt Marcy mailed us printed copies of the screenshots for your records, she said. I think she enjoyed the drama more than she let on. We didn't send them to anyone else. We didn't have to. Because Danielle, who, up until this point, had been queen bee of family gatherings, was about to get dethroned by her own tongue. And it all started with a group email. Ryan's mom, bless her sweet, oblivious heart, sent out a message inviting everyone to Easter brunch. Casual, cheery, filled with emojis. But she made one mistake. She included Danielle and left me out. It didn't take long for word to get back to me. This time, though, I didn't cry. I replied all politely, but firmly. Hi everyone. Just wanted to clarify that we won't be attending this year's brunch. We're taking space from people who have repeatedly disrespected and misrepresented our family behind closed doors, while smiling to our faces. If anyone would like to see evidence, feel free to reach out privately. Wishing you all a peaceful holiday. Boom. 10 minutes later I got 6 private messages. 3 of them were from cousins apologizing for not realizing the extent of what Danielle was doing. One was from Ryan's grandmother, who simply said, I'm proud of you. One was from Paul thanking me again. And the last one? From Danielle. It read, wow, that was unnecessary. I really thought we could have worked things out privately. But I guess you needed an audience. That says a lot about your character. I didn't reply. She needed an audience? No, she had one. For years. She just didn't know they were finally seeing the play for what it was. And it was about to close. In the days following that email, the silence from some relatives was deafening but revealing. The ones who mattered, the ones who truly cared, reached out. The others didn't. And that was all I needed to know. I didn't expect an apology from Danielle. She didn't do apologies. What she did was damage control, and she was about to go into full PR mode. It started subtly. A few carefully curated Instagram posts. A story about forgiving people even when they hurt you. A boomerang of her baking cookies with the caption, Healing in Progress Cupcake. Then came the direct messages. Not to me. To others. To my people. She messaged cousin Talia, who had privately supported me. I'm not sure what Amanda told you, but it's really sad she's twisting things. I always supported her kids. She messaged Aunt Brenda. Amanda's clearly going through something. I'm praying for her. She even messaged Marcy. Big mistake. Marcy screenshot it and sent it to me with a one-line caption. She's spiraling. Popcorn. I didn't respond to Danielle either. Not when she posted. Not when she messaged others. Not even when Paul emailed us to say she was asking for a peaceful talk. Because here's what no one tells you. When someone stabs you repeatedly with words, there's no band-aid made of let's talk that fixes that. Especially not when the blade is still in your back. But the rail bomb dropped a week later, when Ryan's mom, whom we'll call Linda, called him in tears. She showed up at my house, Linda sobbed, with cupcakes, saying you and Amanda are trying to turn the whole family against her. Ryan held the phone away from his ear for a second and looked at me like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Linda went on. She was crying, Ryan. She said Amanda is bullying her. That she's afraid of being cut out of the family. She said you were threatening her marriage. Threatening her marriage? I almost laughed. Danielle's marriage was crumbling under the weight of her own behavior, and she wanted to blame me? Ryan didn't entertain it. He calmly told his mom that we weren't interested in playing emotional ping-pong. "This is what she does," he said. "She makes a mess, then cries when people hold her accountable." Then came the moment we didn't expect. Linda asked, voice trembling, "Can I see the screenshots?" Ryan looked at me. I hesitated, but I nodded. So we sent them. Not all of them, just enough. Enough for a mother to see what her daughter-in-law had truly been doing. The message that hit Linda hardest was the one where Danielle mocked Caleb's speech therapy progress. "He still talks like a cartoon character. It's like Amanda thinks that's cute. It's just sad." Linda didn't reply that night, but the next day she sent a group text. To me, to Ryan, to Paul, and to Danielle. "I have seen things I cannot unsee. What's been said about Amanda and her children is cruel, unjustified, and disappointing beyond words. This family will not move forward by sweeping things under the rug. Danielle, I love you, but you need to own what you've done. And Amanda, I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." I cried again. Not the ugly kind, the relieved kind. But of course Danielle couldn't let it go. She replied to that group text with what might be the most stunning performance of victimhood I've ever witnessed. "I'm heartbroken that things were shared without context. I was venting. I've always loved those kids. I just worry sometimes and it comes out wrong. I wish someone had just talked to me instead of attacking me behind my back." Behind her back. The irony nearly gave me a stroke. Paul replied before I could. "Danielle, stop. You weren't venting. You were lying, mocking, and manipulating. I've defended you for years and I'm done. This isn't about Amanda. It's about you. Own it." Silence. Then, 2 days later, Danielle deactivated all her social media. People started picking sides whether they admitted it or not. Cousin Rachel unfollowed me on Instagram. Uncle Pete sent me a vague "hope everyone can move on" email that reeked of Switzerland-style neutrality. But the most surprising person to reach out, Danielle's older sister Morgan. Morgan had never involved herself in family drama. She lived on the coast, worked in publishing, and only came home once a year for Christmas. But she called me. Not texted, called. "Hey Amanda," she said, awkward but gentle. "I just wanted to say, I believe you. About everything." I blinked. "You do." She sighed. "I love my sister. But she's not who she pretends to be. Growing up, she did the same thing with our cousins, with friends, even with our mom. She controls the narrative. And when someone exposes her, she plays the victim. It's exhausting." Morgan paused. Then quietly added, "You're not alone." I thanked her. Genuinely. I didn't realize how badly I needed to hear that from someone in Danielle's family. But things didn't end there. The final twist came in April, right after Easter, one we didn't expect, not in a million years. A video. Apparently, at the last family brunch, the one we didn't attend, Danielle had too much wine. She started talking. Loudly. Carelessly. Someone Ryan's teenage cousin Hannah had been filming a TikTok in the background and accidentally recorded Danielle trash-talking again. Amanda acts like her kids are geniuses. They can't even sit still. Caleb's like a feral cat and Mia's always flapping like she's trying to fly away. The video wasn't posted publicly, but Hannah saw it while editing her TikTok and was horrified. She sent it to Marcy. And Marcy? Oh, Marcy sent it straight to everyone. Not with malice. Not even with commentary. Just a subject line. "If you're still confused." It was nuclear. You could almost hear the collective gasp echo across the extended family. Because it wasn't just screenshots anymore. It was proof. Moving, speaking proof of how Danielle operated when she thought no one was watching. That night I got another message. From Ryan's cousin Amy. She has a son with ADHD and had always defended Danielle. Her message simply said, "I'm sorry. I get it now. People say validation doesn't heal wounds. And maybe that's true. But it sure helps you stop questioning your sanity." A week later, Danielle officially moved out of her and Paul's house. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't apologize. But she left. And somehow I felt lighter. Not because she was gone, but because I was finally free from trying to make her like me. Free from trying to fit into a toxic mold just to keep the peace. Free to raise my children in a space that respected who they are, not who someone wished they'd be. Ryan and I started therapy, not because our marriage was in trouble but because we wanted to unlearn the silence we'd swallowed for so long. The kind that makes you second-guess your truth just because it makes other people uncomfortable. Our kids are thriving. Mia started drawing abstract art and told me, "My hands feel like they're singing." Caleb learned how to make grilled cheese by himself and gave me the first bite, then laughed when I pretended it was too fancy for my mouth. And me? I'm learning slowly to forgive myself for not seeing it sooner, for trying too hard, for giving people more chances than they deserved. The hardest part? Explaining to Mia and Caleb why they don't see Aunt Danielle anymore. I told them the truth gently, that sometimes people act kind but their words say otherwise. And when someone keeps hurting you, even quietly, it's okay to step away. That's not mean. That's protecting your peace. Mia nodded. Caleb said, "I don't miss her." And that was that. And now here I am, telling strangers on the internet my story. Not for pity, not even for advice, but because for years I gaslit myself into believing I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too emotional. And if even one person out there reads this and thinks, "Wait, maybe I'm not crazy either," then it's worth it. A few months passed. Summer rolled in. The scent of sunscreen, sidewalk chalk, and grilled cheese filled our house like comfort itself. For the first time in years, life felt quiet, but not the kind of quiet that follows abandonment. This was the kind of quiet that comes with boundaries, with clarity, with healing. We'd created something Newa rhythm that no longer revolved around whether Danielle approved of us. A world that didn't have to tiptoe around her moods or brace for her commentary. But even in that peace, a part of me still held onto the weight of what had happened. Not because I hadn't moved on but because I knew other families had their own Danielas. And most of them never got the proof I did. So when Cousin Amy messaged me again this time, suggesting I share my experience online, I hesitated. Not because I was afraid, but because I wasn't sure if rehashing the trauma would help me or hurt me. She sent another message. "Amanda, if you told this story, it would make people think. It might protect a mom like you from being isolated by someone just like her." That sat with me for days. I kept going back to Danielle's comments. Her smiles. Her hugs. The double-edged tone laced in sweetness. The damage she caused in a room without ever raising her voice. And the part of me that had once believed her, that had second-guessed my instincts again and again, flared up with one final conviction. She thrived because no one ever spoke up. So I did. I sat down and wrote everything. Not with names. Not with vengeance. But with truth. I titled the post, "What It's Like When the Most Charming Person in the Room Quietly Destroys You." I shared the screenshots with identifying details blurred, the video clip faces obscured, and most importantly, the patterns. The patterns that women like Danielle operate within. The sweet public praise followed by private cruelty. The manipulation disguised as concern. The isolation of targets by turning others against them quietly. The perfectionist image used to mask deep insecurity and control issues. I didn't ask for attention. I didn't ask for sympathy. I just asked, "If this sounds familiar, you're not imagining it. You're not dramatic. You're not the problem. Trust your gut." And I posted it anonymously. Within hours it exploded. Thousands of shares. Tens of thousands of comments. And something even more unexpected, emails. Messages from women and men across the world saying, "I thought it was just me. This sounds exactly like my sister-in-law. I've never felt so seen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." It was overwhelming. But it was also deeply, profoundly affirming. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about recognition. About shining light into the dark corners where people like Danielle thrived in secrecy. But not everyone loved it. A few days later, I got a cease and desist letter. From Danielle's lawyer. Apparently, even anonymized, Danielle had enough people texting her the post that she felt slandered. She claimed defamation, emotional distress, and this is rich irreparable harm to her reputation. Paul called us immediately. "She's furious," he said. "She's more upset about the backlash than about what she actually did. She doesn't even deny it. She's just embarrassed." He offered to cover the legal fees if it escalated. You didn't name her. She has no case. Our lawyer agreed. The letter was toothless. But it told me something deeper. Danielle wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry she'd lost control of the narrative. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The court of public opinion had already delivered a far more honest verdict than any legal team could manipulate. And slowly, things began to settle. Paul filed for divorce. He and Danielle sold their home. He got full custody of their dog. Yes, even the dog preferred peace. Danielle moved in with a friend and started rebuilding her brand. I don't know if she still sees herself as the victim. I imagine she does. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because I stopped needing her to see me. I stopped needing anyone to choose me. The only people I need to show up for me now do. Lindamie mother-in-law visits once a week. She takes the kids to the park and always brings a new book for them to read. She told me one day quietly, "You're the strongest woman I've ever met." I just wish I'd realized that sooner. Aunt Marcy became a regular dinner guest. She calls Caleb Professor and tells Mia her drawings remind her of Kandinsky. The kids adore her. Ryan's relationship with Paul is stronger than ever. They text every day now. Paul even came to Caleb's school play, his first time on stage. And me? I started volunteering with an advocacy group for parents of neurodivergent children. I help moderate a private support forum where people can share what I once thought I had to suffer in silence. Where they can say, "This happened to me," and be met with, "We believe you." I don't hate Danielle. I genuinely don't. I pity her. Because people who need to tear others down just to feel big inside are already carrying more emptiness than anyone should. And the truth is, she wasn't just trying to hurt me, she was running from her own reflection. But I'm done chasing her shadow. I'm busy basking in the light. One afternoon, months later, I found Mia sitting on the porch with her sketchpad. She was drawing a picture of our family, Ryan, Caleb, and herself. All of us standing beneath a huge tree, holding hands with big swirling suns above. "What's that one?" I asked, pointing at a little figure off to the side. She smiled. "That's Aunt Marcy. She's reading a book to the squirrels." I laughed. "Of course she is." Then Mia looked up at me and said, unprompted, "I like our family better now. It feels safe." Safe. That word alone made every painful moment, every tear, every sleepless night, every confrontation worth it. Because this was what I fought for. Not revenge, not reputation, but safety. For me, for my kids, for our peace. And if telling my story helped one other family find theirs, then I would do it all again.